We stand pro-EU, pro-Ukraine, pro-rule of law. We need to turbocharge our defense industrial capacity in the next 5 years. Europe must spend more, Europe must spend better, and Europe must spend European.
So, it's confirmed. Ursula von der Leyen is officially the EPP Group's Spitzenkandidat, positioning her as the leading contender for EU Commission President. The Spitzenkandidat process allows EU political groups to nominate a lead candidate for Commission President, with the winning group's candidate typically becoming the Commission President. But here's the kicker. It doesn't always work out that way. The Spitzenkandidat process has its fair share of critics and controversies, which we'll get into a bit later in this video. Now on to the competition. Does Ursula von der Leyen have any challengers? You bet she does. The European Parliament is home to 7 major political groups, and most of them have nominated their own Spitzenkandidaten to contest the presidency. Kicking things off, we've got Nicolas Schmit, a 70-year-old from Luxembourg, rocking the SD party as their lead candidate. As the current European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, he's a veteran in European politics, dedicated to championing social justice.
We have to have a social Europe where every citizen feels not left behind. We are taking care of citizens, all those also who might have difficulties in present times. Purchasing power, but also the transitions and the changes in our economy. We will not leave them behind.
Next up in the Greens corner, we've got Terry Reintke from Germany, who's all about eco-friendly policies and fairness for everyone. And Bas Eickhout, a Dutch climate change warrior with a Nobel Prize to his name. Yes, there are 2 of them, and they'll have to fight it out for the presidency if the Greens win the commission, which, let's be honest, they almost certainly won't.
It takes courage to change our ways. For example, to make steel with renewable energy, or to invent new methods of producing items without using polluting chemicals, or to create millions of jobs that the green transformation can bring. All of this deserves courage, and I want us to be the ally of all of those people who are already doing that as we speak, because EPP and the Liberals are wrong when they say that the Green Deal is something that goes against our economy.
Over at Renew Europe, the Spitzenkandidat scene is a bit of a cliffhanger. No one's been crowned just yet. The spotlight's on Valérie Ayer, a pro-Macron MEP from the Renaissance Party, who's gone under the radar to front and center after snagging the Renew Europe presidency in January.
Qui mieux que l'Europe pour protéger l'Europe? Chers collègues, il est temps d'agir. Et cela commence par mettre fin à l'unanimité en politique étrangère européenne, où aujourd'hui un seul gouvernement, même inféodé à une puissance étrangère, peut mettre en danger nos intérêts vitaux à tous. Il nous faudra ensuite penser à de nouvelles initiatives. Et je pense ici à la création d'académies militaires européennes, à l'heure où nos forces armées doivent être pleinement interopérables. Mais aussi inventer de nouvelles formes de financement pour notre protection. Bâtir un vrai marché unique de la défense.
Jumping over to the left, they have nominated Walter Bayer from Austria, with a communist background, as their top candidate. Bayer brings a wealth of experience and deep commitment to social justice, underpinned by his academic work and anti-fascist activism.
Reserve 7% of the European Union's GDP for education, research and innovation. In the European Parliament and the European Commission demand 2% of the GDP for armament expenditures. No! The opposite is necessary. Spend 2% of our GDPs for culture and art, for education, for healthcare, for strengthening the public services.
For the right-wing ECR and IND groups, the Spitzenkandidaten process remains off the table, as they've consistently opposed it since 2019. Thus, the closest figures to a Spitzenkandidat within these groups are their respective presidents. In the ECR, co-chairman Ryszard Legutko of Poland's Law and Justice Party and Nicola Procaccini from Italy's Brothers of Italy lead the charge, emphasizing conservative values and national sovereignty. However, there are already indications that Ryszard Legutko will be replaced.
Sappiamo che l'immigrazione è un problema europeo e come tale ha bisogno di una risposta europea. Ha bisogno di azioni urgenti, concrete ed efficaci. Per anni vi abbiamo chiesto di ascoltarci Vi abbiamo combattuto pur non avendo i numeri per fermare la maggioranza rosso-verde che ha partorito questo programma folle chiamato Green Deal. Avete deciso che gli esseri umani nuocciono al pianeta, sicché bisogna abbandonare i campi coltivati, rimuovere gli argini dai fiumi e riesumare le paludi.
And over in the IND group, Marco Zanni of Italy's League Party is at the forefront of Eurosceptic advocacy and calls for EU reform.
We have to be proud of our culture. We have to be proud of our identities. We have to be proud to have nation states that have been in the past and are now today the center of democracy in the world. This is very, very important. Crisis after crisis, they decided to centralize more decisions to Brussels, to steal more powers from member states, from our capitals, to the European Union, and the result was that Europe is poorer compared to our parents, to our relatives.
So the European Commission presidency race is packed, but realistically, few candidates stand a strong chance due to low polling numbers. At the forefront is the EPP with Ursula von der Leyen, followed by the SND's Nicolas Schmit. The ECR also makes an appearance, albeit with a lesser-known campaign face. But does a win for the EPP guarantee Ursula von der Leyen the presidency again? No, it wouldn't be the EU if it was that simple. After the parliament elections, the leaders of the EU's 27 countries determine a nominee for Commission President behind closed doors, in what's less of a democratic ballot, but more of a political tug-of-war. Once they've arm-wrestled their way to a consensus, their nominee has to convince a majority of MEPs in the European Parliament to vote them into power. Therefore, nothing is certain. Back in 2019, Manfred Weber, the EPP Spitzenkandidat, was all set for the big chair, but in a crazy plot twist in the backroom cloak and dagger dealings between member state leaders, Ursula von der Leyen was catapulted onto the center stage, stunning just about everyone. Nonetheless, as you can see from our Commission President leaderboard, we still feel that Ursula von der Leyen is the firm favorite to win the election. At EU Made Simple, we are not fans of the current process for electing the EU president and believe it's high time for some change. We have identified 3 possible reform options: empower the European Parliament and enable it to nominate Commission presidency candidates, as this would make the selection process more democratic and transparent; strengthen the Spitzenkandidaten system so that the winning political group's lead candidate should automatically step up as Commission President; or direct elections by EU citizens, where the EU citizens directly vote for the Commission President. Each of these options has its upsides and downsides, and we are curious to hear your thoughts. Personally, we're leaning towards making the Spitzenkandidaten system a firm rule. It is about making sure the voters truly have a say in who leads them. This was episode 3 of our Road to the EU Election series. Our goal is to make the EU elections fun and simple. Each episode will feature a spotlight story, followed by the current polls, and then the race to Commission President. Check out the video linked above if you're new to politics, and subscribe today. And if you're keen on supporting our mission to educate the public about the EU, consider signing up to Patreon. Until next time.